What if the weakness you feel was never truly yours? What if it was just a mask the world made you wear? You weren't born apologizing. You didn't arrive on this earth needing to explain your presence. You were taught to shrink, taught to filter your truth, taught that silence was dangerous and that pleasing others was survival. But here's the forbidden truth they never told you. Real strength begins the moment you stop explaining yourself. When your soul grows louder than your words, the right people stay. The rest? They were never strong enough to walk beside you. You spent too long asking for permission to be who you already are. But you feel it, don't you? The quiet ache, the heavy exhaustion of always needing to be understood. To justify your fire to people who fear their own. And yet, they still don't get it. Because they were never meant to. That's not your failure. That's your freedom calling. Listen, your mind is a forge, and every thought you shape is a spark of your destiny. You don't owe anyone an explanation of your fire. Let it burn. The world taught you that silence means defeat, but silence is not weakness. Silence is a fortress where your strength grows unseen. They want your energy, your attention, your validation, but the moment you pull it back, the moment you stop explaining, defending, overgiving, they call you cold, selfish, hard to love. But that's not the truth. The truth is, you're done bleeding to keep others warm. And now, they feel the cold of your absence. It hurts, doesn't it? That moment when you realize some people only love the version of you that tolerated being misunderstood. They didn't love your truth. They loved your silence. They loved how easy you were to mold. But you're not clay anymore. You're steel. You're not the apology. You're the arrival. And now, your work begins. Mastering yourself is not a trend. It's not a motivational quote. It's war. A sacred war, fought in the quiet spaces of your own mind. You must learn to sit with the emotions that try to break you, the shame that whispers, "You're too much," the fear that claws at your throat, begging you to explain your every move. Those emotions aren't enemies. They are molten metal, and with enough discipline, you will forge them into armor. This is mental alchemy, the ancient skill of turning chaos into clarity, pain into power, emotion into strategy. But be warned, it's not glamorous. It's not loud. It's not visible to the world. It happens in the dark, when no one is watching. When you stare down your reflection and refuse to lie to it again. This is where the weak run. This is where the strong are born. You've tried to be liked. You've tried to be understood. But the deeper you go, the more you realize, understanding is not a requirement for love. Real connection doesn't need an explanation. When you stop chasing validation, you discover something terrifying and holy. You are enough without witnesses. That's where inner discipline is born. Not in noise, not in applause, but in restraint. The power to hold your truth like a blade, and only unsheath it when necessary. Discipline is the cornerstone of all freedom. Without it, you are a slave to reaction. Emotion. The never-ending game of earning your place in a world that doesn't even know what it wants from you. But with it, you become untouchable. You walk into rooms and change them without a word. You sit in silence, and the noise of the world bends around you, because they can't figure you out anymore. And what they cannot predict, they cannot control. This is the death of the old you, the one who over-explained, who begged to be seen, who softened their edge just to be invited into rooms that didn't deserve them. That version of you, gone. Grieve it, if you must, but then rise. Steel-eyed, silent, certain, because here's the truth, the right people, the real ones, they don't need a script. They feel your soul without needing a translation. They don't flinch at your silence. They find peace in it, because they've built their own fortress too. You'll know them when you meet them. They don't try to fix you. They stand beside you like equals, unshaken, unthreatened, unmoved by the games the world plays. But that kind of bond, it only arrives after you've faced the fires alone. You must earn it. By first becoming whole without it. So if you feel empty right now, if your world feels quieter than ever before, good. That's not loneliness. That's the sound of your power returning. You don't need to explain. You don't need to chase. The ones meant to walk with you will hear the silence and know it speaks volumes. Let the rest go. Let the confusion burn. Because this transformation won't wait for your permission. It begins when you're finally done being broken.
There's a part of you the world never sees. A part that doesn't smile for approval, that doesn't bow to comfort, that doesn't flinch when it looks itself in the mirror. This part is your shadow, and if you've ever wondered why your energy feels ageless, why your presence lingers like ancient wind in a silent temple, it's because you didn't run from it, you faced it. Most people spend their lives sprinting away from themselves. They bury guilt beneath distractions, they choke their rage under fake kindness, they hide their grief behind noise, behind success, behind filters, and it ages them quickly, quietly, completely, because what is aging, if not the weight of emotions never dealt with? You are lighter, because you're not running. You're walking toward the storm, and that changes everything. That's why you glow. That's why you look young, because you've started doing what most fear even in their final breath. You're meeting yourself. Shadow work isn't witchcraft. It's war. A war of honesty. A war of courage, where you step into your darkest memories, not to relive them, but to reclaim the parts of yourself you left behind, the anger you were shamed for feeling, the tears you were told to hide, the passion you suppressed because the world wasn't ready for your fire. You're not just learning skills. You're remembering a power you always had. This isn't self-help. It's self-resurrection. When you sit alone, in silence, and you let the emotions rise without pushing them away, you are not falling apart, you are reforging, because emotions aren't enemies. They're raw material, molten metal, rising from the deepest furnace of your spirit. And when you stay, when you breathe, when you feel without flinching, that chaos becomes clarity, that sadness becomes stillness, that rage becomes resolve, and suddenly, your face softens, your body relaxes. Your nervous system learns to trust you again. It shows. In your eyes. In your jaw. In the way you walk into a room, not with arrogance, but with sovereignty. The quiet fire, not the fire that destroys, but the fire that burns away illusion. That's what you've begun. That's why you don't crack under pressure like you used to. That's why the little things don't steal your peace anymore, because you've built a sanctuary inside and no one can touch it but you. Let me tell you a story. Ancient Japan. A samurai who had lost his master wandered the countryside. A ronin, leaderless, dishonored, alone. He was mocked, looked down on. They said his path was over, but in the shadows of the forest, he trained. Alone. No applause, no rank. He forged his spirit in silence. Years passed. He returned, not seeking revenge, but radiating such calm, focused presence, that even the ones who mocked him bowed in his presence, not out of fear, out of respect, because they saw it, the fire, contained, controlled, pure. This is the path you walk now. You may not have a sword, but you carry something sharper, awareness, and every time you feel instead of fleeing, every time you choose stillness over screaming, you sharpen it, you make your presence heavier and your aging lighter. The world doesn't understand this. They think youth is found in creams and pills and surgeries, but it's not. It's found in your breath. In how deeply you can sit with what hurts, without crumbling. That is emotional alchemy, and it's not easy. You'll want to run, your ego will scream, your mind will offer every distraction in the book, but if you stay, even for one more breath, you win, and that win compounds. You start showing up differently. You don't chase people who don't see you. You don't panic when things go silent. You don't drown in what you used to call storms, because you've become the storm, not in destruction, but in power. A controlled storm. A quiet fire. You feel everything, but it doesn't own you. You welcome the grief, but it doesn't bury you. You allow the anger, but you don't let it blind you. And this practice, it turns your very cells into armor. Your biology listens, your face listens, your energy listens, and they all start reflecting the truth. You are not your past, you are your practice, and your practice is clean-centered, fierce. That's why you don't look like the chaos you've survived. That's why you radiate youth, even when your years say otherwise, because your soul isn't wrinkled. It's tempered like steel pulled from the fire, cooled in sacred water, and ready to cut through illusion. You don't need permission for this. You don't need anyone to clap for your transformation. You don't even need them to understand, because they'll feel it. In your silence. In your gaze. In your refusal to abandon yourself ever again. So Keep going. Do the work no one claps for, sit with the fire no one sees, cry the tears no one will thank you for, because every time you do you claim back another piece of yourself, and that is what makes you ageless. You are not healing, you are awakening, and there is no turning back now. Some people age because they've never learned how to hold the storm. They collapse at the first sign of betrayal, they drown when emotions rise, they run from silence, and in running, they waste energy, time, and years they'll never get back. You're different now. You've begun to build what most never even dream of, a fortress not of stone, not of steel, but of self-control, the kind of control that doesn't repress, doesn't numb, doesn't pretend, but channels, the kind that allows you to feel everything and still stand like a mountain in the wind. You don't react, you don't explode, you respond deliberately. Precisely, with the silence of someone who knows their worth no longer depends on anyone's approval. That silence, it's your armor. Let them try to rattle you, let them test your boundaries, let the world throw its chaos at you like rocks against a temple wall. You don't move because you've learned something rare. That peace is not given. It is built, and every time you choose not to chase, every time you don't explain yourself to those who don't deserve it, every time you pause instead of reacting, you lay another brick in the walls of your inner kingdom. You've stopped begging for validation because now you see what that really was, a form of self-abandonment. You used to water gardens that would never grow, used to bend your truth just to keep people from leaving, used to believe that being understood was the same as being loved, but not anymore, because you've seen what it costs. The more you chased approval, the older you felt. The more you tried to be perfect, the more exhausted you became, and the moment you let that all die, you started living lighter, living clearer, living stronger. People ask, how do you stay so calm? What's your secret? But it's not a secret. It's self-respect. You don't give energy to confusion. You don't explain your boundaries twice. You don't negotiate with chaos. That's not coldness. That's maturity. You've been through enough storms to know this. If you don't protect your peace, the world will eat it. So you journal, you reframe thoughts that used to own you, you catch your breathing before panic settles in, you move your body, not to look good, but to feel powerful. That is the practice. Mental toughness isn't about pretending things don't hurt. It's about not letting pain change your direction. You stay centered, even when it aches, even when it shakes, even when the voice in your head whispers lies at 2 a.m. because you know that voice isn't truth. It's programming, old scripts, old wounds, old ghosts, and you've stopped letting them drive the wheel. Now, when betrayal comes, you don't beg, you nod. You walk, you write down what it taught you. When delays come, you don't spiral, you breathe. You realign, you trust your timing over the crowd's noise. When life goes silent, you smile because silence is no longer a threat. It's your training ground, the gym where your mind becomes a weapon. No one sees it, but every breath you take in silence is another rep, another flex of restraint, another seed of inner authority taking root. You've started living like a master, not a victim. No more over-sharing. No more explaining your past to people who only want pieces of your pain. No more leaking energy just to feel seen. You don't need eyes on you anymore because now you see yourself, and that clarity, it shows. In the way you pause before speaking. In the way you respond to ignorance with stillness. In the way you walk away from anything that insults your soul. That self-control, the fortress that no one built for you, or the one you had to fight yourself to create. It wasn't easy. It still isn't. You had to break patterns that were older than your voice, had to disappoint people who only loved your mask, had to choose solitude over company that made your soul itch. But what came next? Peace, power, presence, and a body that no longer carries the weight of pretending. That's why you look younger, because you stopped carrying emotions that didn't belong to you. You stopped burning out your nervous system trying to fix people who didn't want to heal. You stopped rushing, stopped proving, stopped performing, and in the stillness, you remembered. You don't need their permission not to speak, not to rest, not to rise. You never did. And the voices that once controlled you, they've gone quiet, not because the world changed, but because you did. You outgrew the echo, the need to convince, the need to be liked, the need to be understood by those committed to misunderstanding you. Now you speak less and mean more. Now you move slower and arrive faster. Now you let things go, and somehow you gain everything you actually needed. This isn't just mental health. This is mental warfare, and you're winning not by conquering others, but by finally mastering yourself, your thoughts, your responses, your space. That's the real glow up, and it has nothing to do with how you look, everything to do with how you live. So if the world doesn't understand how you've changed, let them wonder. If they say you're distant now, let them guess, because you're not here to be decoded. You're here to evolve this fortress you've built. It's not a cage. It's a sanctuary. A temple, and only those who carry peace are allowed inside, because you are no longer a battlefield. You are the calm before the storm, and the storm that ends it. You've come far, but this next step, this is where most turn back, because it's not enough to be strong, not enough to be calm, not enough to look younger, feel lighter, or carry stillness in chaos. No, you must now create, not just endure, not just resist, not just survive, but build. As an architect of your own mind. As the ruler of your inner dominion, this is the final truth. You are not just the product of your past, you are the designer of your future, and the reality you wake up in, the emotions you feel, the people you attract, they are no longer accidents, they are blueprints constructed by the energy you allow. Be why the thoughts you entertain. Be why the standards you refuse to lower. Look around. Does your world reflect your power, or your avoidance? Are you surrounded by fuel, or by fire? Do your habits elevate you, or chain you? This isn't judgment, this is your awakening, because the old you would have tolerated the chaos. Would have stayed in the noise. Would have adjusted to the pain instead of breaking the pattern. But the one standing here now, this version of you, they know what time it is. No more someday. No more waiting for permission. No more hoping that the outside world changes before you do. You are not here to blend in. You are not here to shrink. You are not here to play by rules that keep your soul starving. You are here to lead, and leading doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it's walking away without explanation. Sometimes it's building in silence. Sometimes it's saying no without guilt, yes without apology, and goodbye without drama. Because you've tasted the cost of staying small. You've seen what happens when you betray your own voice, and now, you're done with that life. This is the art of emotional alchemy, complete, where pain becomes purpose, where clarity becomes command, where you stop carrying your past like a coffin, and start using it as a foundation. You've mastered your reactions, but now it's time to master your direction. Ask yourself, where do you want your mind to live? In regret, in loops, in old fears that no longer belong to this version of you, or in movement.in, momentum.in. The rare air where your dreams breathe. You've already proven your strength. You've walked through fire, and it didn't burn you. It reforged you. So what now? Now, you build, and not for validation, not to be seen, but because not building would be a betrayal of everything you've become. You create rituals that align with your future self. You set boundaries that protect your energy like royal guards. You declutter your mental space with the same ruthlessness you'd clean a sacred temple. You build routines that honor your focus, not drain it. You speak only what you mean. You commit only to what matters. You move only when your soul says move. This is mastery, not a fantasy, not a motivational high, but a discipline, a direction, a destiny. The body you walk in now, it's lighter because it's yours, and not rented from the opinions of others, not weighed down by unsaid truths, not pretending, and people feel it. They don't know why you look younger. They can't explain why your presence feels so different, but they feel it because your nervous system isn't in survival mode anymore. It's in creation mode. You've regulated your inner world, cleared the fog, burned the scripts that said you needed to stay silent, small, or safe. You don't need to chase anymore. What's yours will rise to meet you. You don't fear loss anymore. What's meant to stay will never be forced. You don't perform anymore, because your peace is not a performance. It's your birthright, and when you stand in that kind of truth, you change the weather in any room you walk into, not by speaking louder, but by being clearer, not by demanding respect, but by refusing anything less. You've become what few even dare to imagine, a sovereign, and that sovereignty, it shows in the way your eyes don't flinch when people lie. In the way your soul doesn't chase what walks away. In the way your energy no longer leaks through the cracks of people-pleasing or guilt. You are not cold, you are centered. You are not arrogant, you are unavailable for nonsense. You are not emotionless, you are focused, because you've seen what happens when you let the world shape you. Now, you shape the world, not by conquering it, but by mastering your inner world so completely that the outside has no choice but to rearrange. This is the ultimate mastery, not the absence of emotion, but the presence of clarity, and now you're here. The world cannot shape you anymore. You are the creator of your mind, the ruler of your most sacred dominion. So take this moment, pause, feel the silence inside you. That's not emptiness. That's space. That's your new reality, waiting to be sculpted by a mind that no longer fears its own power. You are not what happened to you, you are what you chose to become, and if no one has told you this yet, let me say it clearly. I see you, not the mask, not the wounds, not the armor. I see the architect, and the blueprint you carry. It's not just for you. It's a map for every soul still lost in the fog. So go speak, create, not for applause, but because you've earned this clarity through war. You are the calm, you are the storm, you are the builder of worlds unseen, and it all begins now.